All right, well, welcome to fall semester updates. This is week one. Um, it's sorry for my voice; sounds a little hoarse. I had COVID last week, actually, so it's still trying to recover. This week, so we got into classes this week just to get started. Kind of a short week because of the holidays this weekend, but we in my interfaith studies class, we just kind of generally went over what does it mean to be involved in like interfaith leadership. What does that mean? And really, the definitions we were using came down to the idea of interfaith disciplines uh, are really good for people who are willing. They're willing to reach out to other religions. It's all interfaith leadership is about reaching out to other religions and learning to work together, learning to look past theological differences and be able to come together for a common cause. To usually these are like charitable activities or events or other things like that, where it's we're not trying to best each other. We're not trying to say I'm right, you're wrong, and have arguments and debates on belief or theology. What we are doing is coming together as a religious community and learning how to do things in a way that is better for the greater community. So I'm looking forward to doing more with this. Apparently, this is a brand new course taught up here at the campus. Um, it's adapted from an international course that's being used all over the world, basically. So this will be interesting to see how this works out. Looking forward to more lessons and getting into it, involved more. It'll be really fun. We spent a little bit of time learning about Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, the Dalai Lama, Dorothy Day, and others who are, I guess, in a way, they were interfaith leaders of their time, basically. So that kind of gives you an idea of these types of people that would be involved in this type of work. I think this is something that's growing in the communities. I think this is something that is becoming a bigger thing, as we are moving away from the concepts of how do we, prove our religion versus somebody else's religion. Those are still important conversations to have about theology and belief and those kinds of things. But this is more about coming together. And I think with the challenges just against religion in general that we see through developed nations, as well as supporting causes in undeveloped nations, I think more work between religions is going to grow and increase. So I think that's it's going to fulfill latter day prophecy and things basically. So a lot of movement, a lot of things going in for a future cause. So I'm excited to be a part of that. For my Mormonism class, we just got into understanding a little bit about the beginnings of American history. So it's basically we're learning American history, but we're learning how Mormonism came through American history as well. So in this week, we talked a little bit more about just the idea of the colonialism, the expansion, market economy, getting the country running. One thing that we did read this week was Thomas Jefferson's Bible. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you can look it up online and read it. It's pretty interesting. Thomas Jefferson, we all know him. He's pretty famous in American history as being one of the founding fathers of our nation. He had a strong belief in God in general, not a specific God like a God of a certain church. Um, he just kind of had a general belief in God. Uh, and he really liked the moral values that Jesus Christ taught. But because he's kind of, I wouldn't say Thomas Jefferson is an atheist, because he does have a strong belief in God, but he doesn't believe in divinity. He doesn't if you think about the concept of like salvation and things, he would be considered probably a little bit more atheist that way. But he, excuse me, he, so what he did basically for the New Testament was he cut all the divine things about Christ out of it. So you hear of his birth, but not like angels singing and proclaiming his birth and things. Just he was born and he grew up, and then he taught his lectures to people, the Sermon on the Mount and all those kinds of things. Uh, he healed some people here and there, and then he was not divine, so like his baptism was cut out. His some of those things, the Mount of Transfiguration, that was cut out. And then basically you get towards the end of, and he's pulling pieces from all the different gospels. So he's kind of making his own version of the harmony of the gospels. And then he, through these stories basically, and then he basically, you get towards the end of it, the Jewish teachers hate him and don't like him, and so they basically get him killed. But he takes out like the Last Supper, the atonement, Garden of Gethsemane event that night, and then the people come and take Christ away, and they unjustly try him, and then they take him to Rome and to the Roman authorities, and they get the Roman authorities to convict him and kill him, and then he dies, and that's it. No resurrections, no amazing things, nothing like that. So in Thomas Jefferson's version of the Bible, he makes Christ to be just an ordinary guy that had some amazing teachings. And so that's kind of how Thomas Jefferson looked at it. So it was really fascinating to see that, kind of read through as from a different perspective of the Bible, basically. Thomas Jefferson's more of a believer in the Old Testament God, if you will, rather than the New Testament God. So those were fun. I actually did my class just the other day for my master's degree. This is a religious readings class. There's 8 people in the class. It's a very small class, but it's a master's level class. So this one's, we don't need like 100 people in it, where there's just a few people that'll be in these classes, which is fun. It's kind of fun because we get to talk more amongst each other. We have more opportunities to discuss things. And so some of the discussions we had was really fun. We spent some time learning about what is religion, which takes me back to my days last semester of Intro to Religious Studies. We talked about that a little bit. But in this class, we went way more in depth into thinking about what is when we so theology is basically the study of the beliefs of a religion. Okay, studying religion is studying the mechanics of a religion, the ordinances, the traditions, the culture, all those things. So we're kind of pulling the theology to the side and thinking about the religion itself from a neutral standpoint. And he kind of we shared we had some quotes from other religious scholars about what does it mean to be a religion, how do we define what is religion, and he brought up our professor brought up the point that as historians, if you are studying from a more scholarly level, you have to realize that you can't let theology get in the way of studying the religion. And so sometimes a scholar is going to ask questions that would irritate a theologist, because they're looking for understanding, and you're trying to find neutral perspectives to evaluate the religion and things like that. So a scholarly approach to religion isn't about debating theology, who's right, who's wrong. It's about understanding more the culture, the mechanics of the religion. So it's going to be fun. And we're going to do this through reading the 12 books that we have to read for this class. The first book that we are reading that I'll report on next week is called Perpetua. In fact, let me see, I got the book right here. Perpetua's journey. This is I read it ahead of time, but this is a really good book, really fun book about Perpetua as a woman around 200 BC or AD, excuse me, not 200 BC, 200 AD, that she converts to Christianity and then gets put in jail and gets sent to the games at the Colosseum, basically, to die for her Christianity. So it's a really interesting book. This is kind of a graphic novel version of it. It's like a comic book version of what happened to her. So we'll talk more in depth next week about it, and so that'll be fun. So looking forward to some fun stuff this class period, this semester, I should say. And so if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you next week as we continue our updates for this semester.